Hmm. Okay, looks like we're on. Let's see how this plays out. Got one person. So if you pop your name on the live chat, that would be a good place to start. And then check your emails because you've got something sent to you there. And then we'll have a chat once we finished all that. That's probably the best way of doing things. Yeah. So Ikram, good morning. I hope you're well. Let's see. We'll just wait for everyone else to catch up. Again, that's no problem. Right, can we do the call thing? Yes, we could. We can definitely do the call thing on our last lesson if that's more convenient to people. I was going to do it this lesson, but that's fine. That's absolutely fine. It might be there's more people in the last lesson as well, to be fair. So yeah, that sounds like a plan, actually. What I will do is answer questions on what people are doing. Hey, Dylan, good to see you. Hope you're feeling good. So we're just having a quick chat about what to do. Obviously, I've sent you an email, so you can, if you open up, that's cool. So you just want to listen, you don't want to talk, fine, that makes sense. That's okay, cool. So what we're saying is on the last lesson, which is next Wednesday, we'll just have an open call and we kind of like discuss all the bits and bobs of what happens after and all, everything. So this lesson will just be kind of like a generic psychology math lesson. Again, the one I'm teaching you today is something that would come up in your exam. At least that's what the textbook says. So it'll be useful. Zoda, it's good to see you. Hope you're well. Once we get a few more people in, we'll start getting stuff going. So today's split up into two parts. One is some psychology maths. So stuff you actually need. I'm not wasting your time. As far as I know, so I've looked at the textbook and this is what they said you need to know. And then we're going to do just generally kind of like UCAS careersy thing. We're also going to do some of that on Wednesday. Just listening to Ikram saying it's probably a good idea to do that in the last lesson as well, because more people are likely to show up. This is a morning one, all that stuff. And more people are going to show up to the last one, I hope. I mean, stay classy, right? Isabella, good to see you. Anissa, good to see you. I'm going to pop all of you guys on the register now while I'm waiting for a few people to show up. While I'm doing that, if you check your emails for me, you've got something called, what did I call it? The sign test. And this is something that's accessible in psychology. So it's what, all the other ones were like, I'll show you how to do them, but really all you need to be able to do is analyze them. This one's, you need to know how to do it because it might ask you to do it in the exam. All right. It's also kind of super relevant to what's going on in the world right now because a lot of people will be doing it right now. You agree with Ikram? Yeah. I mean, so what we'll do is like if people got careersy stuff that they want to talk about, just pop it in the chat while we're doing stuff and I'll answer it. A couple of people sent me emails yesterday and it's like, yeah, I'm happy to answer anything on these issues. But then the Wednesday one will just be a full-on just live chat. We'll do some cahoots and like dumb stuff like that. We'll also like, just talk to each other. And that'll be, I think, a good way to end. I know a lot of people some people are fasting. And I really appreciate the fact that you guys come in at 10 o'clock. I had to shout at one of my students for not coming in for the 10:45. And I mean, you guys come in like an hour earlier than that. So that's super, super impressive. And I'm grateful. Trust me. Don't think I take it for granted. So we've got about 7 people. Just getting the register loaded up. While I'm waiting to get all this, like for everyone else, whoever's going to pop in, can you go to your email now and open up that Word file if you can, all right? Because the skill I'm going to teach you today is something that's useful to you. It's something you're going to have to cover either in psychology lessons or in the exam or both. I mean, there's no reason why it couldn't come up. The textbook legit says this is something that you might have to do in an exam, all right? I'm also just going to go and fetch my water. Slightly dehydrated. Ashanti, good to see you. You will definitely be marked in. That's excellent. Okay, that's fine. Refreshing. Right, so What I'm going to do is I'm going to start doing the demonstration on how this works. And hey, good to see you, Naima. So just for everyone who just popped in, this is going to be split up into two parts. A little bit of maths that's relevant to your psychology. Again, this is actually accessible. So the other stuff was like, it comes up in your exams, but they'll give you the number. This is something you might actually have to do a calculation for. It's called the sign test. Second half of it will given over to UCAS, careers, apprenticeship, all that stuff that you guys wanted to discuss. Ikram and Zerda are saying probably best idea to have the whole, open chat thing on the Wednesday, the last lesson, and just have that as the last lesson. Because some people are tired, some people won't come in at 10 o'clock, but literally everyone hopefully will come in on the Wednesday, unless literally, what I mean. So I think that's a fair shout. Okay, but you can still ask questions in the live chat, and if people want to do a kind of online Teams thing today, I'll do that as well. That's fine. It's what you want. Sarah, good to see you. So let's get the maths out of the way. If you check your emails, you will see that a file has been sent to you. It's called the sign test. And it's basically used to see if doing something's made a difference. It's like the obvious example for this is like, if you've got coronavirus now, you take a drug, are you better off than you were when you started? Yeah. So the example they give you is an anxiety drug. And I'm just going to copy out the table of the results. So participant refers to the person who took it. So here they've only got 10, sorry. They've got 10 people in their trial, which doesn't sound like very many. We're used to trials of at least 30, but okay. It's got to start somewhere. And you often start having these smaller trials because you're not sure if the drug is safe. And you've got to be careful with all that. I realized that's really low. I didn't realize how low that was. I'll pop it up. Wait, how come? This is actually what I want. This is, yeah, there's my hand. Participant. So we've got 10 volunteers. And you often see these things advertised. We will pay you £2,000 to try this new drug. And usually it's just an easy £2,000. I mean, you might have some small side effects. Every so often it goes disastrously wrong. And people die. And that's the risk you take when you do all this. But generally, you can make some money doing that. I mean, a lot of students do that. So they'll say are you fit and healthy? You see these ads, are you fit and healthy? Would you take part in a 2-week trial? And they'll give you a vaccine or a drug and see what happens to you. And then they'll give you some money. Okay, so this is about an anxiety drug. And before the anxiety kicks in, and this is all on the pack I sent you, they were told to rate their anxiety level. So this is before the drug and then after, on a scale of 1 to 7, where 1 is the worst and 7, so 1 is the best, so no anxiety, and 7 is the worst. So the worst possible situation you could be in is being a 7. So 1 would literally you're wandering through life, whistling, everything's good, you're blessed, and 7's full-on panic attack. I would guess, anyways. And the numbers are as follows. So before they took the drug, it was 6, 5, 7, 3, 4, 2, 5, 6, 7, 4. So 2, 5, 6, 7, 4. So what does that mean? It means, for example, patient 8, before they took the anxiety drug, was on anxiety level of 6, which is pretty bad. 7 is the worst you could possibly be. All right. After that, it's gone 6, 5. Actually, wait. Let me see what actual numbers are. Oops. So I'm going to put them I'm going to use what they've got there. 4, 5, 2, 2, 7, 5, 6, 6, 4. Have I given enough? No, yes, I missed it. That's slightly off there. 4, 5, 6, 7, 7, 5, 6, 6, 4, 6. So 5, 6, 6, 4, 6. Okay, so that's my data, right? So before I give them the drug, that's their level of anxiety. So for person 3, before I gave them the drug, their anxiety level was 7. After I give them the drug, their anxiety level is 2. So remember, the scale goes from 1 to 7, and this is no anxiety, and this is all of the anxiety. All right? So if you're like at 4, you are middling anxiety. Why can't I spell anxiety? There's nothing wrong with my spelling. Right, so there we go, right? Everyone understand the question so far? The numbers are slightly different in the pack, but it doesn't matter, so I'm just going to show you the example anyways, right? So anyone confused by the setup of the question I'm asking you, which is, okay, does this drug work? So we gave them a drug, the before anxiety levels were this, and the after anxiety levels were that. I mean, there is problems with this, because asking someone to grade their own anxieties is a bit of a difficult one, because what might be a 7 for you might be a 5 for someone else. I mean, there's some things like physical manifestations of anxiety, like a panic attack feels like a heart attack. So if you see people like literally choking for breath, you know, choking for breath is bloody coronavirus these days, but you get the idea, right? But like if someone walks up to you, there's no way you can reach inside the head and go, yeah, you know what, you're an anxiety 4 and she's an anxiety 3, and you know, it's not objective, so there's problems with that. But anyways, that's more to the question. All right, so that, pop in a chat if you don't understand, and I'm going to show you how to do this. So the next step you do is what we're going to do is something called, hey, what we're going to do is something called the sign test. All right, and as I said, this is probably one of the few bits of mathematics you actually be asked to do in the psychology exam. All right. That's what the textbook says, and that's what the pack says, so I'm going on that. You know better than me what psychology is, right? But I'm just going on what they've told me there. And the sign test says, the first thing you need to do, and you can see the example of how this is done, on page 2, you work out the difference, yeah? So here's a sign test example. You work out the difference. And the difference here, you just do 6 minus 4 is 2. That's 0. That's 5. That's 1. Actually, I might do the other way around, because obviously you want to see if things have changed for the negative. So I'm actually going to swap that around. I'm going to 4 minus 6. I'll do it the other way around. Minus 2, 0. And that, trust me, that sort of makes a bit of sense given the way we're doing this. So 2 minus 3 is minus 1. 7 minus 4 is 3. That's 3, that's 1, that's 0, that's minus 3, and that's 2. So you can see that for the guys that have got negative numbers, after taking the drug, their anxiety has gone down. So for patient 1, their anxiety has gone down 2 stages. For patient 3, it's really done a big effort. It's made up, or him, move from a 7, which is full-on panic attack, to 2, which is close to normal. So this person, this person, this person, and that person have benefited from taking the drug. Now, there's a bit of a problem here, because all of these people, 1, 2, 3, 4, have got worse, and these 2 have stayed the same. So how effective is this drug really? I mean, if 4 people get better and 4 people get worse and 2 stay the same, well, that's a bit of a worry, isn't it? Yeah? So if you're just looking at that, that's what you're looking at, right? Now, we don't usually use arrows. What we're going to use is signs, okay? So here you've got, this is negative, that doesn't have a sign, that's negative, that's negative, that's positive, that's positive, that's positive, that's negative, and that's positive, all right? So we've got 4 negatives and 2 pluses, all right? And the rule is, you look at your minus and plus, and you take the smaller one, all right? You take the smaller one. So 4 negatives, so it's 4 negatives and 4 positives. They're both the same size, so there isn't really a smaller one. So your observed value is 4. But if this was 4 and that was a 3, you pick the 3. So observed value is 4. Okay, let's see what people have to say about that, if anything. Right. So since I was doing that, as I was watching, so let's see who's cussing me out. Right. I fell asleep to VJ doing maths. Yeah, I mean it's statistics. I can't make that more fun than it is. Yeah, I mean I know it's done from love, so it's okay. No, because his voice is soothing. My voice is not. How is my voice? My voice is like on video so annoying. I cringe so hard when I hear it. It's like literally. Imagine you had like a tramp from East London and you gave him a bit of education. That's literally what I sound like because that's pretty much been my life, right? I came from like Stratford, come from East, and then they made me a barrister. It's not an annoying voice. Blessings. Why did the anxiety go up though? Isn't that weird? I'll talk about that. Side effects, good answer. That's definitely one of them. Have you ever heard of something called performance anxiety? It usually happens in like a context I'm not going to discuss on YouTube, but you know when you're expected to do something, your anxiety can ramp up. So someone gives you a drug and goes, "My dude, this drug is going to fix you," and then it doesn't fix you. You might start feeling more anxious. You've let people down. Why is my body reacting this way? Am I strange? All this stuff, right? That's why people, when you actually do medical tests, use placebo. So everyone has that kind of, nobody knows whether they're the one taking the drug or not. It's one of the reasons, right? It's not just because they might believe that, having a drug would help them. It's also to deal with this idea of performance anxiety. Also, be careful if you Google performance anxiety, right? Cool. But Dylan's answer is also very true. Almost, have you done like pharmaceuticals in psychology and the effect of things on the brain? It's like, well, there's things, but it's almost very, very rare to get any kind of drug that doesn't have some sort of side effect that affects the brain, right? You think of something like Ritalin. Ritalin will kind of like make you concentrate, but also depress your emotions, all stuff like that, right? Anyways, let's finish this because then we can start talking about fun stuff like what you can do the rest of your lives and all that stuff. We can have a bit of a gossip. How does this work after? Great. So we've got an observed value of 4. Happy days. What does that mean for us? It means we have to go to a table. And for the work you've got, the table is given for you. Yeah? Okay. You look at the table. So the table is on page 3. It's top of page 3. Whoa. What's wrong with my life? I'm so stupid sometimes. It's unbelievable. Right, I'm struggling to use a computer, so just bear with me and just having a granddad moment. I'm sick of lockdown. God. Right, here we go. Okay, cool. So we have got 10 participants, yeah? So what you do is you go to your table and look at the table on the top of page, I think that's page 2. Is that page 2? Page 2? Yeah, page 2. Top of page 2, right? And it's on the bottom of the column. So your table looks like this. So you've got n going down here, and n is your number of participants. Yeah. And then your probabilities are just given there. So if you wanted to test at 5%, which is what they're doing in the example, you literally go down 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1. And they've gone, okay, we've got 10 here. We'd expect the lower value to be 1. If your observed value is less than or equal to the critical value, so here our value is 1, but it's 4 less than or equal to 1, then we reject the null hypothesis, right? Now, we didn't even set up a hypothesis here. So that's, not relevant to us really. But what we can say is that's how you find the value for your table. I'm going to do one more example, and we're sharp about this after that, and then we'll do what I promised to do. We'll talk about UCAS and stuff like that, whatever questions people want to ask. Okay, so what we're now going to do is the work example directly under page 2. As I said to you, according to this textbook, this is something that you might be asked to do in an exam. You don't need to copy this out because it's in your pack for you, but I'm going to write it down so it makes sense, right? And this time we will set up hypotheses and do this properly. Right, okay, so researcher asked participants to rate how happy they were before and after watching an uplifting film. So I don't know, Frozen? What's an uplifting film? Suggestions in the chat box, please. What film makes you happy? Nothing makes me happy at the moment. I'm just sad. Happiness level 1 to 8. Actually, no, I can't even suggest that as a tip. I mean, The Simpsons passes the time. Right. So she gets these 8 people this time. 9 people. Sorry, 9 people. And makes them watch film. And she records how happy they were. And again, it's one of these arbitrary scales. How happy are you from one scale of 1 to 8? Again, that means it's arbitrary. So participant is 1 to. So participant just means person. I'm sure you knew that anyways. I'm trying to disrespect. Let's see if you can see all that. And let's see what the chat box is saying to me. Careful if you Google it, guys. Yes, that's why I kind of pulled back. Frozen, yeah, I guess. Starstruck, main fair shout. Yaron, I'm so tired. Yeah, I know. I mean, that's why we're going to do the live chat, I think, probably Wednesday. Like, literally, Wednesday won't be a YouTube. It will be all on Microsoft Teams. So we can just talk to each other like humans. That'll be nice. So it'll be monologuing to a screen. Anyways, Braveheart, Yaron. We'll get there. So this is before and after. Let's go with Starstruck because I've never heard of it. So they'll watch Starstruck. 5 brief synopsis in the live chat, please. I mean, I'm so out of touch with pop culture. I've just now started watching Marvel films, which are quite good, to be fair. Should have started those earlier. But because I got the Disney thingy, and they're all on there, so it's kind of good. Anyways, thing is, I went to a few of them when they were out. I just didn't understand them, so I just kind of went, your friends are going, so we'll go, and then like watch the big explosion. But I never understood what the hell was going on. Anyways, before and after, right? So what you do, step number 1, work out the differences, and the difference is the second one minus the first one. So 6 minus 5, 4 minus 7, minus 2, 6, 1, 2, 2, 0, minus 1. All right? So there you go. Check if I got that right. Yep. I'm super, super clever. And then what have you got there in terms of your signs? It's a positive, a positive, a negative, a positive, a positive, a positive, a positive, and a negative. Yeah? Before we go any further, let's set up our hypotheses. And always the null hypothesis, which is H0, is that nothing changes. So these guys are just going to watch the film, and you know what? They were depressed before, they were depressed afterwards. They make the slightest bit of difference, right? So H0, same happiness, all right? And obviously H1 would be, because you want to see if they're going to be happier, more happy, yeah? I mean, obviously, if you wrote hypotheses that are that bad in an exam, you'd lose marks. But yeah, you know what I mean. This is a demonstration of maths, not how to write hypotheses. If I was going to write the hypothesis formally, it would be like something like, let's see what they did write. What did they write instead? They said nothing really. So like a proper formal hypothesis on this would be participants would be significantly happier after watching an uplifting film than before. So to be fair, they did give that hypothesis. Remember, H0 just math language from null hypothesis. This guy will be the alternate. Right. Let's pop back to the chat and see how people have been insulting me since I'm gone. Is that the one with the blonde guy? Chad or something? I mean, that became a meme. A Chad, isn't it? Chad's a meme thing. Like, the guy that gets all the girls. Right, here, let's see. Where were we? I'm past tired, I'm a zombie. I mean, is this your wild and crazy lifestyle kind of catching up with you, Naima? The girl who says literally sleep is a meme, sleep is a thing, right? Ikram, fair enough. You know, I think you're quite sensible. Marvel films are sick. Yeah, I agree. I'm quite enjoying it. How have I not? The thing is, I've seen them as, it's just like I'd watch one film here with one group of friends, and then like 6 months later there'll be another one, and I'll watch it, but I don't have any idea of the story because I'm not going to start popping spoilers. My Wi-Fi is so bad. Don't worry. Dylan, I haven't. Well done. Me and Dylan, we're a team. I'm catching up, Zeda. Oh My Days, Starstruck is my favorite Disney review. I will look it up now. I mean, next time I've got my little niece round, I'll ask her if she wants to watch it. I think I watched the first Spider-Man, but that's it. I'd recommend watching, like, we've got stuff, we've got time to do. Have it on in the background. Yasmin, you guys are all on culture. True. Okay, cool. Anyways, back to the question. Right, so where are we at with all of this? We've got our null hypothesis test. We've got an alternate hypothesis test. We've got our numbers. we've got that there are 7 positives, so 7 pluses, and we've got, how many minuses? 2 minuses. And you pick the smaller of the 2 numbers. I'm going to throw this pen in the bin. I'm not tempted to use it again. And you pick the smaller of the 2, all right? And the smaller of the 2 here, okay. Oh, make this smaller. That's why you're having trouble here. So the observed value is 2, yeah? So observed is 2. So you're going to get 2 numbers. You're going to get how many pluses and how many minuses. You pick whichever one is the smallest of the 2 numbers. Then you take it to your table, and the table is published on page 3 this time. Whoop. And here we're doing a 5% test, so we go in the 5% column. We've got 8 participants. Have we? What, 9? Didn't we have 9? Why don't we have 9? Explain, Mr. Piece of Paper. Oh, the reason why it's 8 and not 9 is we don't count the equal guy. So that's one worth remembering. Yeah. So if nothing has changed, yeah. So here we've got 6 positive. Yep, 6, 7 positive, 7 and 2. How have I got that wrong? Have I just put too many pluses in place? Okay, that's not a plus. That's why. Yeah, okay, cool. Got it. 6 pluses, 2 minuses. The observed still 2. That's fine. It's 8 people because we don't count the guy that's equal. Yeah? So just bear that in mind for the sign test. If you've got someone that's no difference, nothing's changed, you don't count him as one of your pluses or minuses. All right? So here we've got a minus, 2 minuses, got 6 pluses now because I've rubbed out a mistake. And the guy that was equal, we just don't count him as anything. So you hit your table. The level of significance at 5% is 1, but observed is 2. So if observed number is smaller than table number, reject. Okay? I'm just going to see whether you can even see any of this handwriting. That's fine. Yeah? And we reject H0, reject the null hypothesis. Let's pop that up, see whether you can actually see any of that. No, you can't. So let's pull up so you can. There we go. So what you've got there, we'll run through that quickly. You work out the differences, count the signs, pick the smaller number of signs. So we've got 6 pluses, 2 minuses, pick 2. Your number of participants is 8, not 9. The reason why it's 8 and not 9 is that one of your participants is equal, so they're not contributing anything to the pluses or the minuses. If your observed number is smaller than the table numbers, the table number in this case was 1. Yeah? Yeah, I don't mind Dylan doing another example if people want that. Then we reject H0. So we haven't got enough evidence here to reject H0. So because our observed is 2 and our table number is 1. And to reject H0, our observed number has to be smaller than our table number. I'm going to do one more example then because you asked. I mean, don't stress. It won't take too long. These things are pretty easy. But I'm going to give you a minute just to copy that out. I'm going to get a minute just for me to find the question. In fact, I'll do one of the practice questions. Is there a good practice question? Should be. Here we go. There's a nice easy one. I'm going to do question 3 out of the example pack because that's quite short as well, so it doesn't take too long. So I'll take you through question 3. I'll actually do the sign test for question 3. Okay. So I presume everyone's got what they need for that. And remember, you can always just pull up the video. Videos take up about a day to upload, so don't panic if it's not up 10 minutes. I don't know why it takes a day to load, but it does. Right, cool. So what I'm going to do, now question 3 doesn't actually ask you to do the sign test. I'm going to do it in question 3 anyways, because it's a short example. So here the question's about someone researching how many books people read, and it's year 12 versus year 13. And their hypothesis is that more people read books in year 12, presumably because you'll have a little bit more free time. Definitely true for you this year. You're at home half the time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you've got 6 people and asked them how many books they read in year 12 and year 13. All other variables have been controlled for. So everyone's the same gender. Everyone's got the same kind of background, ethnic background, educational background. So you wouldn't get, presumably they haven't got like people that all, all kind of different grades at GCSE English. I mean, it'd be quite an awkward one if someone couldn't read and you put them in this. 6 and 5, 7 and 6, 5 and 8. Okay, so just to make it absolutely clear, reader or person 6 read 5 books in year 12 and 8 books in year 13. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first of all establish the hypotheses. So the researcher believes that people would read more in year 12 than year 13, but the null hypothesis is unaffected by that. HO will just be no difference. Yeah, there's no difference between the number of books you read in year 12 and number of year 13. The null hypothesis always is nothing's changed, nothing's happened, nothing big. All right, nothing to worry about. So that's H0. H1. H1 will be year 12 books are going to be more than year 13 books. That's what the researcher thinks is going to happen. Remember, that's how null and alternate work. Null will be, imagine there shouldn't be any changes, just accept it's going to be what it was. There won't be any changes. And the alternate is what you think is actually happening. All right. And then you're testing against null. So you can only have what your opinion is if null is disproved. So you disprove null, then you can move on to what you think is actually happening. All right. And that's to avoid you being biased towards a thing. So if I say, for example, my null hypothesis, so my personal hypothesis is that everyone's a genius in our class. But obviously, if I wanted to test that, I couldn't just use my own favoritism to do that. I'd have to test that everyone's normal and then to see whether you're a genius or not, if I can prove that you're not normal. And describing anyone in core maths as normal is a bit of a push, but there we go. Right, okay. The difference between these two guys, 2, 1, or -1, so -1, -3, -1, -1, and 3. Okay, so here you've got a plus, a minus, a minus, a minus, a minus, and a plus. And that means your smallest number would be, so you've got 4 pluses and 2 minuses. So therefore, your observed value is 2. Right, so you always pick the smaller of the 2. All right. Next thing you need to decide is how many participants are there, and there's 6 participants this time. How do I know that? How do I know that? Because every single person contributes a sign, a positive or a negative, right? I don't know if I've got the table for this one. I mean, I can find, yeah, I think I do actually. And basically, there has to be literally, the smallest number had to be 0 for me to reject the null hypothesis. So basically, it had to be all minuses or all pluses. That didn't happen here, so I can't reject the null hypothesis. So the table value, just looking at the table, for 6 is 0.05 is 0. So table value is 0. So the only way this could get you rejected is if your observed value would have to be less than 0. So I don't even know how it's possible. So here we have no evidence to reject the null hypothesis because our observed value is actually bigger than the table value. If we wanted to reject null, if we wanted to reject the idea that there's been no change at all between 12 and 13, we would have to have this number observed be smaller than the table value. Where did I get the table value from? I look at my table, go n equals 6. Let me go back to the chart because I haven't looked at that for about minutes. All right. So people haven't said anything on the chat, so that's okay, I'm guessing. Okay. If anyone that wants to kind of spend any more time on that, I mean, I've set resources up. The rest of this for today is what do people like? People ask a whole bunch of stuff on Wednesday, stuff about UCAS, stuff about law, all kinds of weird things like that. And I will cover that in our group chat, and we'll do, as I said, that's going to be on the Teams as kind of a group call. But I also got some emails about from various people about stuff as well. So this is probably your chance just to ask questions. What you were asking about before. And if I remember, the topics were UCAS, apprenticeships, all kinds of stuff like that. Also like universities and things like that. So open forum now, right? If you're not interested in that, you're done here, you want to go back to sleep, that's absolutely comfy. I fully understand that, especially my fasting dudes. Don't worry, you're marked in. The maths that I wanted to get across has got across. But I'll be here for a little while to answer those questions. And I'll say that there's also another opportunity to ask those questions in our last lesson, which won't have any maths in it. Okay? So I'll be here for a bit. I'm going to do register now. All right, let's get you all logged in. Oh, God, it's done that stupid thing again. Bye-bye. It's there. Right. So you're going to sleep. Good night. Okay, good night. Take care. I'll look forward to seeing you on Wednesday, and then we can, catch up all stuff you want to catch up. That's absolutely fine. I get that. But you may as well use this time productively, whichever way you want to do it. And that includes going to sleep. I don't mind either, to be fair. Have you not got a tutorial at 1:15 as well? Because I know your tutorial is next door to mine. So you can't sleep for too long. You got that going on. But do remember the things I taught you today, because that will come up in your exam, apparently. So I've heard anyways. Let's put everyone on. Register those. That can disappear now. So, what have we got? It looks like I think people are done here for today. And I mean, I understand that's Friday morning. I get that. Unless people have, I'm going to hang around till 40. Unless people have specific questions, I mean, we'll have that huge chat on the Wednesday. I think that will be the one. I think that's what people are saying. That's the best option here. So I respect that. I respect that. I mean, it's not like I'm going to die after Wednesday either, is it? Well, God willing. I mean, you can't talk about Corona. So yeah. So don't worry if you don't, I'm not. As long as God gives me life, I won't be going anywhere. So you can ask me questions anytime. I'm not boring. Okay. Looks like I think we're done and dusted on this one. So you guys take care. I look forward to seeing you all on Wednesday. Pop that on the group chat, by the way, if you're still on. That we've got like our final lesson on Wednesday. It'll be good to see like some of the people that kind of dropped out or drifted out. All right, take care, my dudes. Look after yourselves. Bye.